Hey everyone, how you doing? I wanted to hop on here and make a video real quick about my spiritual journey so far. Because even 2 years into it, um, I feel isolated and secluded at times, and I was hoping my words could provide comfort to those who need to see this, to know they're not alone. Um, So let me talk a little bit about what my life was like before it completely shifted upside down and changed um, for the better. Um, I guess if I guess I'll put it that way, for the better. So ever since I can remember, ever since being a little kid, I don't know, I felt lost. I didn't fully understand what the point of any of this was. Um, I was I was riddled with anxiety. Um, I was irritable. I was discontent. Um, I constantly needed validation to feel better for myself. I constantly needed, you know, I used the outside world to try to fill a void that I had in here, I guess is the best way to put it. And that manifested in all sorts of different ways throughout the years. In relationships, to try to make me feel less empty, in buying things, to try to make me feel less empty. It never felt quite right. And the worst part was, I got so wrapped up in all these conditioned beliefs that I was raised with, searching for the answers there. It was like an endless cycle of, when this happens, I will finally feel whole. When I get this job, I will finally feel whole. When I get this house, I will finally feel whole. When I get this car, I will finally feel whole. When I'm in the right relationship, I will finally feel whole. And all it ever did was leave me empty. I was miserable 80% of the time. 10% of the time, I was riding a very short-lived high from some type of external achievement. And the other 10% of the time, I seemed sociable and happy because I was drinking or, using some sort of drug to try to numb the pain. And that was the only way I knew how to get through day to day, right? Like, my days, they were so robotic in nature. It was like being stuck in a loop. I would get up, I would get dressed, I'd watch TV for a little bit, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd watch TV, I'd have some wine, I'd go to sleep, and I'd do it again. A couple times a year I might go on a short trip, but the trips never fulfilled me as much as my expectations, my high expectations for how they would make me feel would be, right? Because the same thing I was searching for in my getaways, like the solution for my discomfort, and it just never came. And then one day, something inside me broke. I don't know what it was. I don't know why it happened. But I was listening to Bittersweet Symphony. I'm laying in bed, and everything got brighter in the room. And the song immediately changed meanings. This has been one of my favorite songs for a long time, and it was almost like an ode to the misery of life, like the inevitable misery of life. And all of a sudden, that was no longer what the song meant to me. And I didn't have to think about it or run through it. Just all of a sudden, it was hope. the song meant hope, was hopeful to me, like this is the way everyone else has to live, but not you, and you can be a shining light to show them that this isn't the way the world's set up. From that moment, like all sorts of things changed in my life, right? Like, I hadn't done any deep work yet. I hadn't started to work on myself, but like my anxiety went away, at least in the way I knew it, right? Like I stopped biting my nails. I was much more positive. Like my perception on pretty much everything shifted, and I now look at it as I had been fully identified with my false self my entire life. I've been fully identified with my ego, 100% identified with my mind, and when whatever broke, it gave up control to my soul, my spirit, my higher self, whatever you want to call it. And the perception shift came because the world was no longer being filtered through the limiting lens of my ego. I was seeing truth instead of staying within a structure that my mind had created for the way I was supposed to live. If that makes any sense. And, over the course of the next 2 years, I did, oh gosh. I mean, at first I had this insatiable thirst for knowledge, understanding, trying to figure out what had happened to me. I was reading all sorts of spiritual literature. I would pick up bits and pieces of things that seemed true. Picked up a very healthy meditation practice. The way I've aged changed. Not because I didn't have to put any effort into it. It's just what I craved was different. My activity levels have changed. I'm constantly wanting to go on walks, constantly wanting to be outside. I want to work on my body, this avatar. It seems like I was given this. It would be insane not to take care of it. So all these shifts, and I guess the struggle, that I have is, none of the shifts happen in the people around me, right? Like they can see the way I'm living. They can see that I seem to be much more content in my life, and I am, right? Like for the first time ever, I understand what it feels like to be at peace. And as I've healed, I feel whole, right? I'm no longer needing to fill that void inside me because I am to myself everything that I need to be. And I can feel source whenever I need to, and I feel that power, and it's always there, right? But I have no one who around me that can relate to some of the difficulties that I've gone through, right? Energy, for instance. I've become very in tune with energy. At the beginning, it was tough for me to go into a grocery store, right? I would get lightheaded. My vision would almost distort a little bit. Being around that many people, it was very overwhelming. I had to literally teach myself how to be in crowds. Once I got a little bit better with it, I was able to handle larger crowds, and it almost became thrilling. I remember I went to a football game, a Vikings game, early on, and it was almost like I was riding a buzz throughout that game, just because there's so many people there. And now I kind of enjoy being in larger crowds, where I don't actually have to socialize, being around the people, but don't actually have to get into intimate conversations with people, because frankly, most people don't want to have conversations at the depth to which I crave, and I don't fully grasp small talk. I didn't before. Now I really don't. But you want to sit down and talk to me about a fear you overcame this past week, I would love to hear it. So like food, for instance, like I hear people say things like, oh, you eat super healthy. Well, I don't see it as healthy or unhealthy, right? I see it as I can either eat food or I can eat not food. And a majority of what they sell and feed us seems to be not food. It's never intended to go into our bodies, right? So, like, that seems so blatant and obvious to me. But I say that to most people, and they're like, "What are you talking about? Like, what? Like, they wouldn't sell us a bunch of stuff that wasn't intended for us to eat." Well, I think they would. To what extent, I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around whether I believe there's some evil behind some of the things that are going on, or if it's just this world of duality where anything that starts off as a good idea can on that same line become bad if utilized for the wrong means. And unfortunately, in this capitalist society, the wrong means can very easily come in favor of profit. And so what might have started as simply trying to make food more accessible became very disrupting to society as a whole because of that urge for profits, right? Like, it's the same thing with the healthcare industry. They're not trying to heal us. I mean, the fix seems to be food, right? We feed ourselves correctly, and 99% of our healthcare problems go away, but that's not profitable. What's profitable is treating symptoms and keeping somebody on that medication for life. And I guess it's hard not to be able to talk to people about these kind of things that just they don't even seem debatable to me. They're just there. So I'm gonna do this more often, right? I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna talk a little bit, and maybe it'll provide to some of you out there kind of a safe place to watch and know that whatever's happening to you is okay. Enjoy it, right? It can be lonely at times, but my hope is we'll all find the people we're meant to be around. I mean, I do truly have faith that whatever happened to me, it's for a reason. And I'm still trying to discover that and find that, but only time will bring that out, I suppose. And so if you related anything, I'd love it if you commented on the video, and don't forget to like my page, and I look forward to continuing to be able to put these out for you guys. So have a great day.